We begin Erichthonios Savage by assigning clock positions, with tanks north and south, healers east and west, and DPS on intercardinals. Heavy Hand is a single target buster on the main tank. Aetherial Shackles will mark one random player with a purple Shackles of Companionship debuff, and another random player with a red Shackles of Loneliness debuff. About 18 seconds after these debuffs go out, they will resolve. The purple chain player will target themselves and the 3 nearest players with a small circle AoE, while the red chain player will target themselves and the 3 farthest players with a larger circle AoE. We assigned our melee to cardinals inside of the boss's hitbox and our range to intercardinals at max melee. If one of the melee players gets the red chain, we have them swap with the range player at the same colored marker as theirs. Likewise, if a range gets the purple chain, they swap with the melee at the same colored marker as theirs. From this point, the mechanic will resolve itself while the entire party gets full uptime. These circle AoEs deal very light damage but inflict magic vulnerability up, making overlap lethal. Between when Shackles go out and when they resolve, Erichthonios will cast Warden's Wrath, dealing raid-wide damage. During the Gaoler's Flail cast, Erichthonios will pull out 2 chained weapons that resolve in the order they're drawn. The implements at the end of the chains telegraph this attack. A Morning Star indicates a point-blank circle AoE with a safe area at max melee and beyond. A Circular Chakram indicates a donut AoE with a safe spot in the boss's hitbox. And a half-circle Sickle indicates a 270-degree cleave with a safe cone on the opposite side of the boss. During this phase of the fight, the boss will only do combinations of in and out or left and right. Pitiless Flail is a tank buster that inflicts magic vulnerability up and knocks the tank back quite far. Arm's length does not work here, but you can gap close out of the knockback if timed well. The tank should position to be knocked towards a corner to avoid the death wall. Furthermore, this cast has 2 variations. Pitiless Flail of Purgation, which follows the knockback with a proximity damage tank buster, and Pitiless Flail of Grace, which follows the knockback with a party stack. Both of these mechanics can be dealt with using invulnerability cooldowns, but it is possible later in the fight to see these busters while both invulnerabilities are down. For that reason, I recommend saving invulnerabilities to deal with the Purgation Proximity Buster, as while max melee is safe for the rest of the party, the Proximity Buster will still easily kill the magic vulnerability tank. If invulnerability is unavailable during Purgation, the off tank can provoke during the cast, while the magic vulnerability tank should wait for the proximity AoE to resolve before gap closing back in. Grace can be resolved as normal by tank swapping during the cast and stacking with the raid. Erichthonios' first major mechanic is Intemperance. The glowing hand during this cast telegraphs if the mechanic will resolve top to bottom or bottom to top, but this information is 100% useless. The arena will be divided into a 3x3 grid, with the 8 outer squares occupied by a series of 3 gems. Like in the normal difficulty, we need to alternate between blue and orange to avoid damage downs and death. However, this version also features purple gems, which will kill you if you are inside that square when they resolve. These purple gems will always be the middle gems on the 3 east and west towers. This version also features a center tile with no gems, allowing players to skip the second hit when appropriate. Furthermore, every red and blue gem must be soaked by at least 1 player, or they will detonate, dealing raid-wide damage and inflicting damage down. This mechanic seems complicated, but is actually incredibly simple once understood properly. It has 2 potential patterns, so let's address those one at a time. The simple pattern features 3 blue gems at the south tower. For this variation, we have one simple goal. The whole party must start and finish in their assigned square, based on the clock positions from earlier. Look at the top and bottom gem in your starting tower. If they are opposite colors, you're good. You can occupy your square for the first hit, move center for the second hit to skip, and then return to your starting tile for the third and final hit. If the top and bottom gems of your starting square are the same color, then for the second hit, you will go either north or south, whichever one is the color you need to resolve your final hit in your own square. The second pattern is the flex pattern, indicated by south not being triple blue. For this pattern, most of the party handles it in the exact same manner as the first, starting and finishing in their clock square. However, we assign 1 tank and 1 DPS to be the flex players. These flex players will go to their starting clock position square for the first hit, go either north or south to flip their color for the second hit, and then trade squares with each other for the final hit. In other words, if our flex tank is north and our flex DPS is northwest, the flex tank will go north for the first hit, flip their color at north or south on the second hit depending on which color they need, and then go northwest for the final hit, while the Flex DPS will go northwest for the first hit, flip their color on the second hit, and then go north for the final hit. This can be any tank and any DPS and works whether the mechanic resolves top to bottom or vice versa. The important factor here is that the Flexes know that they must flip their element on the second hit and take each other's squares for the final hit. At the end of the Intemperate Torment cast, the first gems will detonate. Erichthonios will cast another Warder's Wrath, and then the second gems will detonate. Don't be debated by the Raidwide and move too early. After one more Warder's Wrath, the third and final gems will resolve. After another Pitiless Flail, Erichthonios will cast Shining Cells, dealing raid damage and transforming the arena into the startboard style configuration. Throughout this phase, Erichthonios will cast Aetherflail, combining in or out flails with left or right flails. On top of this, orbs will also appear around him, telegraphing which segments of the arena floor are dangerous. Find the safe spot for the flails first before moving on to the opposite color within that safe spot, and stay put until both flails have resolved, as the floor will explode with each. Erichthonios will use Pitiless Flails during this phase. While they function exactly as before, the arena is considerably smaller now, so the Knockback tank will need to move deep into Erichthonios' hitbox to avoid the death wall. Shackles of Time will give a random party member the Shackles of Time debuff. When this debuff falls off, the color that player is standing on will detonate. We had the debuff player always move to the light segments of the arena, while the rest of the party occupies the darker red segments. After a heavy hand tank buster on the main tank, the debuff will resolve. Slam Shut will deal raid damage and return the arena to its original configuration. Fourfold Shackles functions similarly to Aetherial Shackles, only now there will be 4 red chain players and 4 purple chain players. Each set of chains has a 3 second, 8 second, 13 second, and 18 second variation. When these debuffs come out, we each check our color and timer and position accordingly. The 3 second chains will go to the red markers, the 8 second chains will go to yellow markers, 13 seconds to blue markers, and 18 seconds to purple markers. Purple debuff players take the inside markers while red debuff players take the outside markers. While learning, it can be helpful to play a macro reminding the group which timers go to which colors, and I've linked the one I use for this in the video description. Once everyone identifies and reports to their safe spot, we just stand still until all of the chains have resolved. After another Warden's Wrath Raidwide, we go into Erichthonios' second Intemperance phase. If we saw the simple pattern earlier, then this will be the flex pattern, and if we saw the flex earlier, this will be the simple pattern. The only other difference during the second Intemperance is that Erichthonios will also cast an in-out or out-in Gaoler's Flail. Sear this into your brain. The Flail resolves after the second gems break and before the third gems break. Players need to do their first 2 tile positions, then dodge the 2 flails, and then resolve their final tile position. The Gaoler's Flail cast is quite long, don't get debated. After another Warder's Wrath, Erichthonios will cast Shining Cells and enter his final phase. There are only 2 new things to be seen here, but they can come out in any order. The first is Aetherial Shackles. We resolve this in the exact same manner as the very first set, with players going to their assigned marker color and swapping with their partner if the range partner gets purple or the melee partner gets red. Erichthonios will cast Aetherchain, blowing up the telegraph color, followed by another Aetherchain that resolves at the same time as the chain debuffs. The other mechanic we haven't seen yet will be Shackles of Time on a random player, combined with a Pitiless Flail tank buster. We handle both of these as we did earlier in the fight, stacking the party on red and having the Shackles of Time debuff stand on light. Shackles of Time will resolve immediately after both tank buster mechanics have resolved. Erichthonios will throw out more Raidwides and Aetherflails, and if he isn't killed in time, he will enrage with a long cast of Bleed.